Life is a journey of constant transformation. We grow, we change, we evolve. But this process isn't always easy or comfortable. In fact, the most profound growth often comes from our greatest challenges. Today, I want to talk to you about the 5 stages of transformation that we all must go through to reach our full potential. Let it end. Let it hurt. Let it heal. Let it go. And finally, let it begin. These 5 stages represent the complete cycle of personal transformation. They are the roadmap for turning pain into power, challenges into opportunities, and setbacks into comebacks. Many of us get stuck somewhere along this journey. We resist endings. We run from pain. We rush healing. We cling to the past, or we fear new beginnings. And in doing so, we prevent ourselves from experiencing the beautiful transformation that awaits on the other side. So today, I invite you to join me on this journey through the 5 stages of transformation. Because no matter where you are right now, whether you're facing an ending, feeling the pain, starting to heal, learning to let go, or standing on the edge of a new beginning, this message is for you. Stage 1. Let it end. Let it end. These 3 simple words carry immense power, yet they're often the hardest to accept. In life, there comes a point when we must face the reality that something has reached its conclusion. It might be a relationship that no longer serves your growth, a career path that's burning you out rather than lighting you up, a mindset that's keeping you trapped in limiting beliefs, or a chapter of life that's simply complete. We resist endings for many reasons: fear of the unknown, comfort in the familiar even when it's painful, the belief that if we just try harder, hold on longer, or sacrifice more, we can prevent the inevitable. But here's the truth. Not everything in your life is meant to last forever. Some things are meant to be chapters, not the entire book. And when you resist the natural conclusion of something, you only prolong your suffering. Think about a time when you knew deep down that something needed to end, but you held on anyway. Maybe it was that relationship where the love had faded, but you couldn't bear the thought of being alone. Perhaps it was that job that drained your spirit daily, but you stayed because of financial security. How much energy did you waste trying to breathe life into something that was already dead? How much peace did you sacrifice by fighting against what you knew in your heart to be true? Endings aren't failures, they're transitions. They're necessary completions that make space for new beginnings. Just as a forest fire clears the way for new growth, endings clear the path for your evolution. The most powerful people in this world aren't those who can hold on to things indefinitely. They're those who know when to let things end and have the courage to do so. When you resist an ending, you're essentially saying, "I don't trust that there's something better for me on the other side." But I'm here to tell you that the end of one chapter is always the beginning of another. And often, what awaits you is far greater than what you're leaving behind. I remember when I had to end a business I'd poured my heart and soul into for years. I'd invested countless hours, significant money, and wrapped much of my identity in being the founder of that company. When it became clear that it wasn't viable anymore, I resisted that reality for months. I tried everything to save it, working myself to exhaustion, desperately trying to avoid the inevitable. When I finally accepted that it needed to end, it felt like a death, and in many ways it was. The death of a dream, the death of a version of myself. But that ending, painful as it was, freed me to discover new opportunities that I couldn't even imagine while I was clinging to something that was no longer meant for me. Endings require courage. They require faith. They require you to trust that even though you can't see the full path ahead, it's still there, waiting for you to take that first step. So I ask you today, what in your life needs to end? What relationship, job, belief, habit, or situation have you outgrown? What are you holding on to out of fear rather than love? What's draining your energy instead of amplifying it? Whatever it is, I encourage you to find the courage to let it end, not in anger or resentment, but with gratitude for what it gave you and taught you. Let it end with the understanding that this ending is not the end of your story, it's merely the end of a chapter, making way for the next one to begin. Let it end, because only then can you fully embrace what's next. Stage 2. Let it hurt. Let it hurt. These words might seem counterintuitive in a world obsessed with positivity and quick fixes. We're constantly told to look on the bright side, to get over it, to stay strong. But there's profound wisdom in allowing yourself to feel the full depth of your pain. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is a messenger. It tells you what matters to you. It highlights your values. It reveals your capacity for care and love. Without pain, how would you know what truly matters to your heart? Yet so many of us run from pain. We numb it with distractions, endless scrolling, binge-watching, overworking, substances, or whatever else keeps us from feeling the discomfort. We put on a brave face and tell everyone we're fine, when inside we're falling apart. We rush to replace what we've lost instead of processing the grief of that loss. But pain that isn't processed doesn't disappear. It gets stored. It festers. It transforms into anxiety, depression, physical illness, or erupts unexpectedly in our relationships and decisions. The pain you refuse to feel doesn't go away. It just changes form. Letting it hurt means giving yourself permission to be vulnerable. It means acknowledging that yes, this situation is painful. Yes, your heart is broken. Yes, you're disappointed. Yes, you're grieving. And all of that is not only okay, it's necessary. I remember working with a man who had lost his wife after 30 years of marriage. For months after her passing, he kept himself busy with work, home projects, and taking care of everyone else. "I'm handling it," he would say. "I'm staying strong." But he wasn't sleeping. His health was declining. His relationships were suffering. One day, I asked him if he had allowed himself to grieve. He looked at me confused and said, "What good would that do? It won't bring her back." I gently suggested that he try setting aside just 15 minutes to sit with his grief, to feel it fully without judging it or trying to fix it. Reluctantly, he agreed. The next time I saw him, he looked different, lighter somehow, though his eyes were red from crying. I sat down for those 15 minutes, he told me, and ended up crying for 3 hours. It was the first time I really let myself feel how much I miss her. That man went on to tell me that this experience of finally letting himself feel the full weight of his loss was like lancing a wound. Painful in the moment, but the beginning of true healing. Pain avoided is pain prolonged. Pain felt is pain processed. When you let yourself hurt, something miraculous happens. The pain begins to lose its grip on you. It doesn't disappear instantly, but it transforms. It becomes less overwhelming, less all-consuming. By facing it directly, you begin to move through it rather than being stuck in it. There's also tremendous growth waiting for you in your pain. Pain has the unique ability to crack you open, to remove the shell of who you thought you were, revealing who you truly are beneath. Pain can be the greatest teacher if you're willing to be the student. Think about the most difficult experiences of your life. While you probably wouldn't choose to go through them again, can you recognize how they shaped you, how they strengthened you, how they deepened your capacity for empathy and understanding? Pain isn't just something to endure, it's something to honor. It marks the places where you've loved deeply, dreamed boldly, and cared profoundly. Your pain is evidence of your humanity, your vulnerability, your courage to live with an open heart in a world where nothing is guaranteed. So today, I invite you to let it hurt, Whatever loss, disappointment, or heartbreak you're carrying, stop running from it. Create a sacred space for your pain. Sit with it, feel it in your body, name it, write about it, share it with someone you trust. Don't judge your pain or compare it to others. Don't rush to get over it. And don't use your pain as a reason to close your heart. Instead, let your pain be a doorway to deeper wisdom, greater compassion, and more authentic connection with yourself and others. Let it hurt, because only in feeling the depth of your pain can you experience the fullness of your healing. Stage 3. Let it heal. Let it heal. These words carry the promise of renewal, of wounds closing, of pain subsiding. But healing isn't just something that happens to you, it's something you must actively participate in. Healing is a process, not an event. It doesn't happen overnight or with the wave of a magic wand. It happens gradually, sometimes so slowly that you don't even notice it's happening until one day you realize you can think about your pain without being consumed by it. One of the biggest misconceptions about healing is that it means returning to exactly who you were before the hurt. But true healing isn't about going back. It's about moving forward as a new version of yourself, one that incorporates the experience into the fabric of who you are. The Japanese have a beautiful practice called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with gold. The philosophy behind this practice is that breakage and repair become part of the object's history, making it more beautiful, not less valuable. Your healing is like that. The places where you've been broken and then mended don't make you damaged goods, they make you a work of art. Your scars are evidence not of your weakness, but of your resilience. They tell the story of what you've overcome. So how do we actively participate in our healing? First, by having patience with the process. Healing has its own timeline that cannot be rushed. Just as a broken bone needs time in a cast, emotional wounds need time to mend. Be gentle with yourself during this process. Understand that healing isn't linear. You'll have good days and bad days, steps forward and steps back. That's normal. That's human. Second, healing requires self-compassion. So often, we're our own harshest critics. We blame ourselves for getting hurt in the first place. We judge ourselves for not healing fast enough. We compare our healing journey to others. But healing flourishes in an environment of kindness, not criticism. Talk to yourself as you would talk to someone you deeply love. Would you tell a dear friend who's hurting that they should just get over it? Would you criticize them for having a bad day? No. You'd offer understanding, patience, and encouragement. Offer yourself the same. Third, healing requires honest reflection. What lessons does this pain have to teach you? What strengths did you discover in yourself through this challenge? How has this experience changed your perspective? What boundaries might you need to set going forward? This isn't about blaming yourself or others. It's about extracting the wisdom from your wounds so that your suffering isn't in vain. Fourth, healing often requires support. While no one can do your healing for you, trying to heal completely alone is like trying to perform surgery on yourself. Technically possible, but unnecessarily difficult and dangerous. Allow others to support you. Whether it's friends, family, a therapist, a support group, or a mentor, let people who care about you help carry some of the weight. Sometimes healing happens in the spaces between people, in the moments of feeling truly seen and understood by another human being. I remember working with a woman who had experienced a devastating betrayal by her business partner. She lost not only her financial security, but also her confidence and trust in others. For months, she isolated herself, convinced that she needed to handle everything alone. When she finally reached out for support, she was surprised to discover how many people were willing to help her rebuild. Not just her business, but her sense of self. I thought asking for help would make me feel weak, she told me, but it actually made me feel stronger, more connected. I realized I wasn't alone in my pain. Fifth, healing requires release. At some point in your healing journey, you'll need to release the need for things to have been different. The if-onlys and what-ifs keep you tethered to the past. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It simply means you acknowledge the reality of what is, so you can move forward from there. And finally, healing requires hope. The belief that while you may never forget what happened, the pain won't always be this intense, that there is life after loss, that your heart, though changed, can beat strongly again. Let it heal by being patient with the process. Let it heal by treating yourself with compassion. Let it heal by extracting the lessons. Let it heal by leaning on others. Let it heal by practicing acceptance. Let it heal by nurturing hope. Let it heal, because only when you heal can you truly move forward into the next stage of transformation. Stage 4. Let it go. Let it go. These words have become somewhat of a cultural catchphrase, but their meaning runs much deeper than a popular song or a casual dismissal of problems. Letting go is an act of profound courage and wisdom. It's the conscious decision to release your grip on what was, so you can fully embrace what is and what could be. What are we really talking about when we say let it go? We're talking about releasing the emotional attachments that keep you bound to the past, the resentment towards someone who hurt you, the regret over your own mistakes, the anger about circumstances beyond your control, the fantasies about how things should have been. These attachments are like heavy chains you drag behind you. They limit your movement. They drain your energy. They keep parts of your heart and mind perpetually occupied with what's already done instead of what could still be. Letting go doesn't mean you forget what happened. It doesn't mean you condone harmful actions or pretend the hurt never existed. It simply means you're no longer allowing the past to control your present and determine your future. Think of it this way. When you hold on to resentment towards someone who hurt you, who suffers more? Them or you? When you constantly replay regrets in your mind, who loses sleep? The past version of yourself who made the mistake? Or the present version who can't stop thinking about it? The truth is, holding on to these things hurts you far more than it hurts anyone else. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So why is letting go so difficult? Often it's because we've confused holding on with staying loyal to a person, to a dream, to a version of ourselves. We think that letting go means we didn't really care, that the relationship or experience wasn't significant, that our pain wasn't valid. But that's not the case at all. You can honor the importance of what happened while still choosing to release its hold on you. In fact, that's the only way to truly honor it, by allowing it to become a part of your story without letting it write the rest of your chapters. Sometimes we hold on because we believe that our anger or resentment somehow protects us, that if we stay angry enough we won't get hurt again. But anger is a poor guardian of the heart. It may seem to keep others at bay, but it also prevents love, opportunity, and joy from coming in. And sometimes we hold on simply because we don't know how to let go. It's become so familiar to carry this weight that we've forgotten what it feels like to live without it. So how do we practice letting go? First, by making a conscious decision. Letting go rarely happens by accident. It's a choice you make, sometimes over and over again. Each time the resentment rises, each time the regret surfaces, you gently remind yourself, I've decided to let this go. Second, by practicing forgiveness of others and of yourself. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying the hurt. As author Anne Lamott wisely said, not forgiving is like drinking rat poison and then waiting for the rat to die. Third, By focusing on gratitude for what is rather than longing for what was or what might have been. Gratitude and resentment cannot coexist in the same heart. When you fill yourself with appreciation for the present, there's less room for regret about the past. Fourth, by recognizing that holding on is a choice, one that you can unchoose at any moment. Your past doesn't have to define your future unless you decide that it will. I once worked with a successful businessman who had built an empire but lost it all in a market crash. For years after, he was consumed with bitterness about his former business partners, who he felt had betrayed him, the economy that had failed him, and his own decisions that had contributed to his downfall. "I used to be somebody," he would tell me. "Now I'm nothing." His identity was so wrapped up in his past success that he couldn't see any possibility for a meaningful future. His resentment and regret were preventing him from using the considerable talents and experience he still possessed. The turning point came when he realized that by holding on to his past, he was giving away his power to create a new future. "I can't change what happened," he told me one day, "but I can choose what happens next." Once he made the decision to let go of his attachment to his past identity and grievances, new opportunities began to emerge. Not overnight, but gradually. He found purpose in mentoring young entrepreneurs, helping them avoid the mistakes he had made. Eventually, he built a new business, smaller than his empire, but more aligned with his values. "I'm happier now than I ever was before," he shared. "Letting go of who I thought I had to be allowed me to become who I was meant to be." Letting go creates space. Space for new relationships, new opportunities, new perspectives, and new versions of yourself to emerge. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you release something that no longer serves you, you make room for something that will. So today, I invite you to ask yourself, what am I still carrying that's weighing me down? What resentments, regrets, or outdated beliefs am I ready to release? What version of myself or my life am I clinging to that's preventing me from embracing something new? Let it go, because only with open hands can you receive what's next. Stage 5. Let it begin. Let it begin. These words herald the final stage of transformation, the emergence of the new after the completion of the old. Having moved through ending, pain, healing, and release, you now stand at the threshold of beginning. This is the moment of possibility, of potential, of promise. But just as with the other stages, this one requires courage. Beginnings are vulnerable times. When you start something new, a relationship, a career, a creative project, a way of being in the world, you step into uncertainty. You don't know how it will turn out. You don't have proof of success. You only have the willingness to try. And that's precisely what makes beginnings so powerful. They represent faith in action, faith in yourself, faith in the future, faith in the possibility of something better than what came before. Many people get stuck in the earlier stages of transformation. They let things end, they feel the pain, they heal, they even let go, but then they hesitate at the threshold of beginning. They stand at the edge, looking out at the vast unknown, and they freeze. What if I fail? What if I get hurt again? What if I'm not ready? What if I make the wrong choice? These are natural questions. But here's the truth. There are no guarantees in life. Every beginning comes with risk. Every new venture includes the possibility of setback or disappointment. But they also include the possibility of joy, growth, fulfillment, and becoming more fully yourself. The alternative to beginning is stagnation, remaining in a state of suspension, neither here nor there, neither fully in the past nor fully stepping into the future. And stagnation leads to regret. At the end of life, people rarely regret the things they tried that didn't work out. They regret the things they never had the courage to begin. So how do we embrace new beginnings? First, by recognizing that you don't have to have it all figured out to start. You don't need to see the entire path to take the first step. Beginning is about direction, not perfection. Second, by starting small. You don't have to transform your entire life overnight. What's one small step you can take today toward the life you want to create? What's one action that would signal to yourself that you're ready for something new? Third, by surrounding yourself with people who support your evolution. New beginnings often require new companions, people who see your potential, who encourage your growth, who believe in your capacity to create something beautiful from what was once broken. I remember working with a woman who had gone through a painful divorce after 20 years of marriage. She had moved through the initial stages of transformation. She had accepted the end of her marriage, she had allowed herself to grieve deeply, she had done the healing work, and she had forgiven both herself and her ex-husband. But when it came to beginning a new chapter, she hesitated. "I don't know how to date in today's world," she told me. "I don't even know who I am outside of being a wife and mother. What if I'm too old to start over? What if I am alone forever?" The fear was paralyzing her. She was healing but not moving forward. I asked her what one small step might look like. Not finding a new partner, but simply beginning to explore who she was now and what she wanted for this next chapter. She decided to take a solo trip to a place she'd always wanted to visit but had never gone because her ex-husband wasn't interested. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "I've never traveled alone." That trip became the catalyst for her new beginning. While traveling, she discovered parts of herself that had been dormant for years: her sense of adventure, her ability to connect with strangers, her capacity to navigate challenges independently. She came back changed, more confident, more clear about who she was becoming. "I still don't know exactly what's next," she told me, "but I know I'm ready to find out." Fourth, beginning requires presence. It's tempting to rush through beginnings, anxious to get to the good part where everything is established and secure. But there's magic in the early stages of anything. The first date, the first day of a new job, the first words of a book you're writing, the first steps of a new health practice. When you're fully present for these beginnings, you plant seeds of intention that influence how this new chapter unfolds. Finally, beginning requires trust. Trust in the process, trust in the timing of your life, and most importantly, trust in yourself. You've survived endings, you've endured pain, you've done the work of healing, you've practiced letting go. All of this has prepared you for what's next. You are not the same person you were before this transformation began. You are wiser, stronger, more self-aware, more intentional. Trust that these qualities will serve you well as you step into the new. So today I invite you to consider, what are you ready to begin? What dream, relationship, project or way of being is calling to you? What would bring you alive in this next chapter of your life? Whatever it is, don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait until you feel completely ready. Don't wait for a guarantee of success. Just take the first step, however small. Let it begin, because your new story is waiting to be written, and you are the only one who can write it. Conclusion. We've journeyed through the 5 stages of transformation. Let it end. Let it hurt. Let it heal. Let it go. And let it begin. These stages aren't always linear. You might find yourself cycling through them multiple times or experiencing several simultaneously. That's okay. Transformation isn't a straight line, it's a spiral, returning to similar places but always at a different level. What matters is that you keep moving through the process, not getting permanently stuck in any one stage. Don't resist the endings. Don't run from the pain. Don't rush the healing. Don't cling to what's finished, and don't fear the new beginnings. Life is a continuous cycle of endings and beginnings, of letting go and taking hold. The more gracefully you can move through this cycle, the more fully you will live. Remember, transformation isn't something that happens to you. It's something that happens through you, with your participation, with your courage, with your willingness to grow. So, I leave you with this question. Where are you in your own journey of transformation? What stage are you currently navigating, and what one step can you take today to move forward in that process? Whatever your answer, know this: you have everything you need within you to complete this journey. Trust the process, trust yourself, and trust that on the other side of transformation is a life more beautiful than you can imagine. Let it end, let it hurt, let it heal, let it go, let it begin. Your transformation is waiting.